My name is Kyle Armstrong. I'm associated with Binghamton University. Today I'll be presenting the opposition construction. I'd like to begin by stating that the proposition team has committed a procedural infraction as they have failed to propose a plan that heavily regulates internet pornography. Rather, they have presented an argument attempting to lightly regulate a small portion of the pornography industry that is not limited to the internet and thus does not adhere to the resolution stated in the invitation. Thus, it should be disregarded by the judge. Revenge pornography, according to an article in the New York Times, can be defined as the publishing of sexual photos of someone without his or her consent, often after the ending of a relationship. Police have stated in past cases of revenge pornography that there can be no case brought against the publisher of the sexual photos, the subject of which is another of the age of 18 or higher, as the photographs are the property of the taker of the photographs. Such was the case of Holly Jacobs, who sought legal action against her ex-boyfriend, who had published sexual photos of her. The sexual photos in this case were taken by her ex-boyfriend, and thus the police were unable to act as the photographs were his property. Only two states have attempted to restrict revenge pornography, those being New Jersey and California. These laws punish the dissemination of revenge pornography as a misdemeanor with a fine of up to $1,000. Senator Anthony Cannell, the author of the California Anti-Revenge Pornography Bill, stated that if the bill had contained a prison sentence as punishment, it would have failed to pass due to the fact that it would have contributed to a rise in the already overcrowded prison population. Prison has been likened to the worst possible form of hell. Within the prison system of the United States, human beings are outraged, degraded, and tortured. This system is designed to somehow protect the public from evils despite the fact that society has created those evils and now threaten it. Criminologists as a whole have found that social and economic forces are the greatest influence of an individual's choice to engage in criminal activity. It has been shown that those who are imprisoned within the correction system of the United States are at greater risk for contracting human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. This greater risk comes from an increased exposure to intravenous drug use, unprotected sexual activity, prison tattooing, and exposure to blood of others that from fighting and rebellions that occur within prisons. Letters from prisoners have revealed that rape is incredibly common within the prison system of the United States. In the Arkansas Department of Corrections, reports indicate that rape occurs between prisoners between 1 and 2 times per week. Prisoner letters reveal that the reported number of rapes is artificially low, however, as prisoners are often compelled to not report rape and other forms of sexual harassment by threats from other prisoners as well as guards. Letters from prisoners around the nation revealed this trend as being nationwide. Those who are released from prison are described as emaciated, deformed, and will-less. Having been deprived of all other forms of existence, they immediately seek a return to criminal activity. It has also been found that crime has been on the rise over the past 20 years rather than decreasing. This may ultimately lead to an overall failure of the correction system if the correction system continues to fail to reform criminals and continue to allow them to return to criminal activity. It will lead to a lack of confidence in the ability of the correction system to properly protect the people of the United States. Such a lack of confidence will lead to the citizenry failing to report the activities of criminals and thus allow them to operate unhindered and increase the scope of their activities. It could be argued that all of these events could be avoided with the introduction of prisoner work programs. However, such prisoner work programs could never be introduced as the introduction of a slave labor force in the United States would hinder the ability of the traditional labor force to gain employment. The use of prisoner labor is referred to as a type of slave labor as it is unpaid as well as forced upon the prison population. As the traditional labor force of the United States would be unable to find paying work, it would lead them into criminal activity as well, continuing to increase the criminal population of the United States. All of the laws associated with revenge pornography contain a large loophole that only pertain to those individuals who both take the sexual photographs and distribute them. The Cyber Civil Rights Initiative has estimated that 80% of revenge pornography images were taken by the victim. This means that 80% of the publishing of revenge pornography victims of the publishing of revenge pornography are unable to seek legal repercussions against the publisher of the sexual photographs. The New York Times has also found that neither current nor proposed laws will affect websites that make pornographic images available to the public, as they are protected under the Communications Decency Act. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act has been interpreted by federal courts to protect websites that host third-party content from liability. Third-party content in this case means content that is published on a website by a person not affiliated with that website. Thus, the prison system of the United States fails to reform criminals and in fact increases the amount of criminal activity within the population and the scope and intensity of the criminal activities. The use of any type of fine in accordance with the publishing of revenge pornography also fails in that it does nothing to decrease the amount of revenge pornography introduced to the internet or other available mediums.